Here we. Okay, I'm just waiting for notification. And we are live. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to a very special edition of Off the Record, the People's Podcast this afternoon. We have a great guest, one who I'm very humbled to be interviewing. I want to thank you very much, Shi Larry Tankson, for taking time out of your busy schedule to have a conversation with us today. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing fine. Yourself?
Excellent. For those of you who don't know, this man is a master trainer and a master martial arts artist who has trained many students. And I am one of his students in middle school, and everybody he's trained has just been better for it. My first question, sir, is when did you develop a love for martial arts?
I developed love for martial arts in 1965, 66.
Yes, sir. And how was it? How did that come about?
Watching a TV show called The Green Hornet.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And a movie called Death Be Quick, Death Be Nimble.
And
okay,
I'm not familiar with that.
It was these two guys that knew martial arts, and one of them was black. And they were doing martial arts. Now, how well it looked then, I mean, it looked fantastic to me back then. I don't know, because I used to watch a TV series called The Avengers. The Avengers. The Mr. Peel. I mean, John Steed and Miss Peel. The Avengers. So they were on Channel 7, and Miss Peel knew karate. Now, when I look back at it now, it was very weak karate, but when you don't know it, then you see it, it's impressive.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Wonderful. My sister Miriam says peace. Naima says peace as well. Thank you all for watching. My next question for you, sir, is why did you start getting into the martial arts?
Safety. I could run very fast, and I needed to because there were people that were out to harm my body. So I started, a guy moved on the block, and his name Eddie Smith. And he took myself and several other children on the block to a school called the Dravidian School of Martial Arts, which was headed by Russ Meek, who was a activist. And from there, that was the beginning of my martial arts career. And that was 1969.
1969. Wow. Excellent, sir. You still look very young. My next question for you. What is the name of your martial arts school, and where is it located for people who live in Chicago who may want to send go there or send their children there?
The name of the school is TAC Karate, which stands for Tankson's Academy, Chicago. We're located in two locations. The main location is 7223 South Stony Island.
Yes, sir.
Right down the street from the mosque.
Yes, sir.
And then
yes,
the
sir.
second location is 8220 South Kedzie, which is in the Auburn Gresham area, which is southwest of where we are now.
Okay, excellent. Yes, sir. My next question is, who were some of your greatest inspirations in martial arts?
Well, seeing the Bruce Lee situation where Bruce Lee was on TV and we saw him. So that was a start. And then there were actual real people like his name is now Tayara Cassell, but back then he was called Donnell Cassell. He was a big inspiration. And then seeing real people do martial arts, those became my inspirations. Russ Meek, Otis Baker, Shorty Mills, Jimmy Jones, Brad Hughes. Those are just a few of the people that were inspiration to me.
Wonderful. And what type of martial arts? What style is your martial arts?
Well, I teach. I know three different styles. I know Shorin Karate,
yes, sir.
Shirei Karate, and Taekwondo. I teach Shorin Karate primarily.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And once again, we thank you because it definitely saved me from getting bullied a lot of times doing some of the things that I learned in at the dojo. My next question is how did your parents feel about you doing martial arts? Were they ever like nervous or worried about you when you wanted to like?
No, actually, my martial arts career, that was doing martial arts was the first time I ever ever disobeyed my parents.
Mm,
I started, my lessons were $1 a week, and they were paying it, and then it went to $2 per week, and my mother told me I couldn't go anymore.
mm.
So back then, you had pop bottles were you had your 12-ounce and 16-ounce bottles, and you had your 28-ounce or the quart bottles. And if you took them back to the store, you got 2 cents for the smaller bottles, and you got 5 cents for the bigger bottles.
Mm.
So I was sitting on the stairs one day trying to figure out how am I going to pay for my lesson, and I just started looking around, and I saw all these bottles where we didn't have grass on the west side of Chicago, it was dirt. And so I started cleaning up my neighborhood, and at the same time, I was able to use my effort to clean it up to pay my martial arts fees.
Okay. Excellent.
And from there, I was able to continue. And my parents had told me I couldn't go, but I kept going anyway. And one day, we did we were on a TV show called The Big Bill Hill, and one of my friends told my mother that she should watch this show at 2:00 on Saturday afternoon. Now she didn't know I was going to karate. I was just going and saying I was somewhere else.
Yes, sir. Yes,
But I'm standing in line with the other students, and one of the sisters tried to break the board, and it didn't break. And then Russ Meek called me out. Now I was so nervous. I hit the board so hard, I broke it, but it popped out of the person's hand and hit me in the face. So when the show was over and I went home, my mother was just having a general conversation with me, and she said, "By the way, how's your face?" I said, "That board hit it," and then I said, "I'm fine," and then I realized that I was busted at that point.
Yes,
And
sir.
so my mother and father had a conversation that if he would go as far as disobeying us, let him do it, because I had never ever disobeyed my parents. I'm the 8th child of 9. And so I was Mr. Goody Two Shoes, but my mother, not knowingly, she let me know that I was her weakest child because she was always looking out for me. And I knew she thought I was the weakest child. And as a result of that, they let me do things to try to build my confidence. So martial arts was something they let me do, and they never had another problem out of me after that either.
Okay, yes, sir. That's great. And thank you all for watching the People's Podcast. My next question for you, sir, is there was a video, an inspirational tape during 1995, the Mayman March, and they showed you going to the Mayman March. How did the Mayman March impact you?
It was a major event that took place that was important to our awareness and our respect that we do count, and that inspired me to the point where when Black Lives Matter first started, they were renting here in the Chicago chapter, were renting space for me to train their students in martial arts. And my wife came up with an idea and asked me to pass it on, which I did. I asked them would they should think about adding a word to their cause, which would be more inclusive as opposed to exclusive. And the word was TOO. So 3 years ago, a little bit more than 3 years ago, we took that to them, and the sister that I told it to thought it was a great idea. They did not go with it. And then a few months later, Me Too came out. And it's a bigger movement than Black Lives Matter.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We felt that if you said Black Lives Matter too, that would shut up anybody and everybody, and we would be inclusive, and no one could say blue lives and white lives.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Everything with one blow, and I think it gave us a leg up. But instead, they chose to be exclusive. And so as a result of that, you have these fanatics that can say white lives matter too, black. Of course, all lives matter.
Yes,
But
sir. Yes, sir.
the point is that we've been always, well, we're not privileged, that's for sure.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes, sir.
as a result of that, we need to stand up and point out the fact that we do matter.
Absolutely. And my family would like to also make sure that we thank your wife and your children and their family, your family for their sacrifice as well. For those long hours that you was putting in work, teaching us and training. So we thank them as well. My next question is, um, you had so many trophies in the dojo. The tournaments was a big deal and a big part of the brand of your dojo. What is it about tournaments that you like so much? And what is it about tournaments that you like so much?
Well, tournaments, for me, it gave me an opportunity to grow. Uh, uh, Sometimes you're fearful and you don't really know it. But I would have these butterflies, and it just basically tournaments allowed me to practice situations that when a real situation came about, it would be less stressful and easier to deal with. So it was my way of expressing myself and challenging myself and practice.
Yes, sir. Now in Chicago, I mean, one of the roughest cities in America. Have you ever had to like really fight outside, or have you been able to avoid fighting with martial arts?
Oh, I definitely had to fight
Mm, mm,
lots of times.
mm.
I'm sorry, my screen went off. Hold on. Yes, I've used my martial arts a number of times on the street. I can remember when I first started. One day, my mother just took a shot at me and said, "You got to be starting some of these fights." Until she witnessed someone just walk up and attack me, and I dropped the brother with a kick to the body. And a
Yes,
couple of
sir.
days later, he came back, apologized to my mother,
Mm.
and told her that he had just gotten beat up, and he saw me, and I looked so easy. He decided that I was gonna get a beating because he got a beating, and it didn't work out that way. So at that point, my mother realized that I wasn't. People just looked at me and just saw me as this weak-looking kid or pushover. And so most of my fights started because people would just saw me as somebody that they could easily pick on,
Yes,
and it
sir.
didn't work out that way. And that's part of my success. I would say I won 90% of my battles because people underestimated me.
Mm, mm, mm. Okay, yes, sir. That's good. My sister Naima wants to know how many tournaments have you participated in?
Oh my God. Uh, I have competed in, oh my, the most I've done in 1 year, I did 48 tournaments in 1 year. That was late 80s. I've done, I stopped counting. I've done well over 400, maybe 500
Yes, sir.
tournaments.
Yes, sir.
Back in the early 90s, I had already won over 2,000 awards.
Yeah, yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Then yeah, in the early 90s, I had already won over 2,000 awards. I made a joke one day. Somebody was talking about how many awards did you win. I said more than anybody. I said including Michael Jordan. Michael
Yes,
Jordan's won a lot, but
yes,
in
sir.
martial arts, you can win so many more. You compete in forms, fighting, weapons, self-defense, breaking. So you have so many more things that you can compete in: teams, continuous fighting, point fighting. So you can go in one tournament and compete in as many as 10 or 15 events in one day, which means that you may win 10 or 15 awards that same day as well.
Yes, sir. Excellent. And thank you, Naima, for that question. She that's awesome. Carl Anthony Hazlett says speed times mass equals power. Wonderful. Also want to thank you. My grandmother got me my first pair of commas that I begged her for, and they were customized. And I got to be in the tournament with you. I think it was the Battle of Chicago. I think it was the Battle of Chicago.
Yes,
I think
that's our event, right?
yeah, and I got the one thing I got like second place in weapons, and I just got a lot of confidence from your dojo. What was it about weapons that that you taught? Because I only thing I knew about weapons was Ninja Turtles. That was to the extent.
Okay.
But you explained it. I mean, all type of weapons. You had the staff, the side, I mean everything. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah. Well, the weapons are just an extension of your technique. If your technique is good with empty hands, when you put a weapon in it, it should look just as good.
Yes, sir.
And the weapons came about. They're originally farm tools, and
Mm,
they were turned into weapons because all weapons were banned. And
mm,
now today they're considered weapons. But
mm.
you had to find some way or some tool to offset the dominance of the people who had weapons versus you not having weapons. So, in
Mhm.
essence, we can walk around the street, and I mean, with with debris and stuff, you can pick up a piece of wood or a stick, and now you have a weapon you can defend yourself with that you may not have otherwise. And it makes a difference when you have multiple attackers or assailants.
Excellent, powerful. My next question is, you spoke of fear. Now, from my observation of you, I studied you since I was a child. I'm in middle school and younger. I knew I would watch your stance, your body language, how you went to the side in tournaments and training. You just seemed very fearless. I didn't see no fear in you. But has there ever been a time where you were afraid, and if so, how did you overcome it?
Most of the time, it was fear.
Mm,
Uh,
mm,
Fear of getting hurt, fear of making a mistake, fear of not approaching it right. However, I use my brain to try to offset that. I would do
mm,
things
mm.
to make people nervous. They're just weird things, just any little thing,
Yes,
shaking
sir.
your hand, you know, moving around, talking, uh, looking super confident, and some people look at you and go like, well, that's not going to be a big issue, and then others will look at it and go like, I need to watch this guy.
Mm,
And
mm.
then some people would read it for what it actually was. It was just something that I was doing to throw them off, and then that they would get so because they would know that they would come at me uh, a little bit more blindly than smartly, and as a result of that, I would end up winning.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes, sir. Okay, powerful. I've just commercial break for the sponsors of this episode, Spice Cat Podcast, designer of composure.com, Khalid's Boutique Instagram, Supreme Men's Clothing in St. Louis, Missouri, 10835 West Florissant Avenue. The zip code is 63136. Phone number 314-528-5555. Make sure you all go there to get your clothes and support. They'll make sure that you're fresh. My brother has a video production street premiere. He has a drone. He's working on some editing and a film coming up very soon. Also, my sister Miriam has a coloring book, ABC I Love Me, as well as a children's book on Amazon. Make sure you all get that. My second book, which is the children's book, is Cleopatra. It is on Amazon. Make sure you all go out and get it. Last but not least, my father's book, A Soldier in the Movement of Christ, AbdulSharifMuhammad.com. Thank you all for your sponsorships. If you would like to sponsor an episode, J Imagination on Cash App, and I will promote your business on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube and Instagram. Like, subscribe, and share. Thank you very much. All right, back to you, Shi Larry Tankson. It's amazing to see your growth, your evolution. Because when I growing up, all we called you Shihan, now you're Hanshi, so that's amazing as well. How does it feel to have your son follow you in your footsteps and do martial arts, and how does that feel as a father?
I've been blessed that my all three of my sons are black belts. My
Mm.
son Jason, he has a school like myself. My son Leroyce, he's a peace officer, and
Mm.
my son Larry Jr. He's bigger than all of us too. He's into ministry,
Mm,
and
mm.
uh, so each one of them are doing something differently, but they all know martial arts, and the martial arts have been a major factor in their success in life. But
Wonderful.
uh, there's only one other person that I know of that has had the success. Richard Plowden from Detroit
Mm.
and myself are the only two people that I'm aware of that have, as individuals, we were nationally or world known martial artists, and we've had children duplicate that. Of
Mm.
all the other worldwide, well known, big names, no one else has had any children. Richard has a daughter and a son that has reached that level. And I've been blessed that I have three sons that have reached that level, that they can
Mm.
go out and duplicate or replicate what we've done versus so many martial artists or great martial artists. Their children don't even know martial arts or they're
Mm.
not very good at it.
Mm.
And it could be a number of reasons for that. People used to think I gave my children private lessons. I didn't have time. I was always teaching everybody else.
Mm.
But it does make a difference, and I think that early discipline allowed them to do things that they might not have otherwise done. And I think that's why some of the Asian cultures, they start out ahead of us, but we usually catch up with them later on in life because they start off so disciplined and focused early on.
Yes,
We
sir.
don't start off that way that often, but when we do, usually we catch up later on in life because we had that freedom early on. But I feel very proud, very humbled, and very fortunate that that this has happened. It could have been the opposite. They could have
Yes,
gone
sir.
off films.
Yes, sir. Okay, well, I want to follow up with that. My sister Mimi Naima says that's beautiful. That's a great legacy. Brother Michael says he used to be in your class when you were on Yates. Um, my next question is not just in martial arts, but many children don't follow in their parents' footsteps, especially sons and fathers. What was there anything that you did do to encourage them, or what I'm saying, to like, how did you? It had to be something. It had to be
Oh
something.
no, my son Jason at one point was like the last thing he would do would be karate.
Mm, mm.
And what does he do now? It's just a living.
Yes,
We
sir.
don't. I didn't choose to be a martial arts instructor.
Mm,
I learned martial arts, and one day I was at an event in 1981, and Jimmy Jones, who used to own the school on 76 and Cottage, uh, asked me to stop by his school after I was competing, and I went by there, and he asked me would I come work for him.
mm,
And 6 months later, I was the owner of that business, and here it is now, 40 years later,
mm.
not knowing that this was going to turn out the way it did. And who knew?
Yes, sir.
It wasn't my plan. I went to school. I was majoring in business, and I thought I was going to manage somebody's company someday, not knowing it would be my own company that I would manage. And so it wasn't planned to do this. It just happened that way. I
Yes, sir.
was working for a Fortune 500 company at the time. I bought the school, and then a year and a half after I bought the school, I quit my job and I did this, start doing it full time.
That's amazing. Amazing. My next question is, what has been your greatest trial as a martial arts instructor, and how did you overcome? How have you overcome that?
The greatest trial was could I teach and and duplicate myself?
Mm,
And most schools would be fortunate or happy if they could run into one really good student
mm.
in a year or 2 year point. We've been blessed that we would get 10 or 15
Yeah,
a
yeah,
year.
yeah. Yes, sir.
I mean, people that could be world class anywhere at any time. That goes back to um, John Wooden once made a comment. John Wooden, basketball coach for
Yes, sir.
UCLA,
Yes, sir.
made a comment about his players at any point in life or any time to train with him could come in and fit right in with any of his students at any given time, any of his
Mm,
players.
mm,
And I thought about that, and then I looked at my school and my model. We fit the same program. The kids that trained with me in 1981 could come into a class with kids that trained in 1992 and fit right in
mm,
because
mm.
concepts, you don't change concepts unless they need to be changed.
Yes, sir.
If it's not broken, don't fix it. Too often we try to fix stuff things that are not broken, and it changes, and we're not successful with it. So we've had a successful uh, method of teaching, way of teaching, and until it stops being successful, we'll continue to do it. We've been consistent for 40 years now, turning out top-notch students.
That's beautiful, sir. My next question is, what advice would you give? I mean, what's been your greatest joy as a martial arts instructor?
Seeing the students that a lot of our students who had trouble learning are now professional teachers.
Yay! Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The kids that had they had learning disabilities, or they were hard to teach. Getting them to learn martial arts, and they were successful with it. They went on to be teachers themselves. Seeing that kind of accomplishment, I love it when they come back and talk to the students that we have now to see, hey, I was a problem kid. I had these issues, dyslexic or this or that, and the other, and they come back and show how successful they are. It makes the children now know that they count, they can do something.
That's amazing, sir. Excellent. What do you do for fun?
My favorite thing to do is play basketball.
Okay.
But
Okay.
as I gotten older, I spend more time playing chess than I
Yes,
do
sir.
anything else. But
Okay. I like that.
some people thinks it's odd when they see me play basketball or do other things, because they think because I do martial arts so much that's all I do. But martial arts is something that I enjoy doing. But if I was playing basketball was my favorite pastime.
Beautiful. Yes, sir. What has kept you consistent through all these years? What has been like the main thing that kept you consistent, and what advice would you give to people who are pursuing any, not just martial arts, but anything in life in order to stay consistent at it?
Well, you come up with a plan, and if the plan is working, you stick to it. You have to tweak things here and there. You listen to other people. You try things all the time, but you don't change anything until you know it'll fit in perfectly. And so the consistency. We took I took a model. I took the educational system model versus some schools don't do that. Let's use BJ. Is it BJJ Jiu Jitsu?
Mm.
They have a great success rate, but they have the worst. No parent would ever sign up in a school like that if it was an educational facility. For example, if you come into my school, you get a booklet that says what you need to know for each and every belt. You know exactly what you need to know to graduate. You go to these schools, you have no idea. It's all about money. They control you. Hoist Gracie once said that his purple belts could be any black belts in the world. And I was sure they should. When you got a guy that's been doing it for 9 to 15 years and he's a purple belt, and you got a guy that's been doing karate 3 or 4 years, he's a black belt. Well, of course, the experience level should be greater.
Yes,
If your
sir.
purple belt been doing it 15 years, he should be able to be a black belt that's been doing it for 4 years. The difference is that they're set up, they're money-making situations. You learn and you're effective, but they keep you locked in where they control you financially. And that's the downfall of the system. I mean, great system in terms of what they teach, but ask them, what do you need to know for your yellow belt, your blue belt, your brown belt? Nobody can tell you because there's no guideline. They promote you as your money come in. They don't want to promote you too fast, but we got to keep you coming. You got to keep the money rolling in. And anybody can challenge me on it if they want to, but that's a fact. And anybody that is in that system will tell you it's a fact. And if they say anything otherwise, they're not being truthful.
Yes, sir. Okay, excellent. My last question first, and thank you all for watching. And I have one more question for you, but once again, I want to stress to you that
Hello. I think I lost you.
okay, you there, sir? Right?
I got you. Okay, I see, yes.
Okay, yes, sir. My last question, but I want to make sure I stress to you that the gratitude that my parents have, my grandmother, for you teaching me and my sister Mimi, the Foursquare, everything that we went through, the after school program, the just martial arts, just the environment there, was amazing. And I just thank you really on behalf of myself and my family. We thank you a lot for what we've done. I mean, for what you all have done and continue to do. My last question is, what do you want your legacy to be, sir?
Well, my legacy is there, and most people don't even realize it's there. All of what all the martial arts schools do today to make a living and do it full time, it all started with Larry Tankson here in Chicago. He had an idea. He was teaching karate at a daycare center. The daycare centers were getting $45 a week. The karate school was getting $25 a month. So I just came up with the idea of an after-school program where I charged $25 a week, which is equivalent to $100 a month. And that was the beginning of Tankson's martial arts, guaranteed to be around. I was innovative. I came up with ideas. I shared it with friends in Atlanta, in Cincinnati. And those friends, their billing companies wanted to know how were they making, how are they driving this revenue? They took those ideas and then they started calling up other schools and telling them, look, if you let us be your billing company, we'll teach you how to do these things. So here you got after school program, transportation, day camp, summer camp, all these ideas, field trips, all these came about. We started it trying to make sure, because my kids would complain about being stuck in the karate school in the summer. So I started after school, I started a summer camp, brought kids in, and we went on field trips, and my kids would go places and do things, and I was able to earn a living at the same time. Now everybody does it. We're not the best at it, but we were the first at it.
Hey, okay, yes, sir. Beautiful. And you've done a great job. And thank you for coming on the People's Podcast this afternoon. I would like to say that the next time I'm in Chicago, I would like to stop by and see you in person just to thank you and shake your hand again and to bow in honor of the foundation of my fight. And a lot of what I got, it came from you. And I'm just, every time I drive past it, going to the mosque or something, I'm like, hey, that's the dojo. Y'all know that's where I learned how to fight at.
Well, thank you for having me and get an opportunity to share some of the things that I know. Most people, I usually keep everything in-house and very quiet about things. And that's why most people don't know that we were the first to do all these things that other people are making millions of dollars with it. But if the idea hadn't come from here, it would not have happened. So now everybody does it. It's like it's a way of life. And all the experts, I know they didn't know because I've had an opportunity to sit down with them, and I've been doing this a lot longer than they have.
Okay, one more question. My sister Miriam wants to know: Do you have students who teach or programs in Atlanta?
Yes, brother Richard Muhammad is in Atlanta, and he has a program there. Yeah, Richard had started out with me when he was 7 years old. And we were on 76 in Cottage. Actually, he's from the original school, the 76 in Cottage Grove School.
Yeah. Okay, I didn't know that. And well, we're familiar with Brother Richard. Yes, sir, absolutely. Okay, well, yes, maybe this Brother Richard. And Sister Carmen Naya says, hey, my former teacher. Yes, sir, a lot of your students watched as well. Former students as well. Well, thank you. Thank you very much, Shi Larry Tankson, for coming on. It's been an honor to interview you, sir. You have a great day.
And thank you. Good seeing you again and talking with you. And tell your parents, give them the greeting from me.
Yes, sir, I will. All right, have a great day.
You too.